Hi, everyone. This is Willie Crawford, and I'm joined today by my friend Yaro Starak. And Yaro and I, we go back quite a bit. I think the first time I met him in person was in Las Vegas, Nevada, when we were both super affiliates, and Jeff Walker pulled us all together because we were he pulled his top 15 affiliates together for a networking event and treated us all to really fancy outing there in Vegas. And at the time, Yaro was traveling the world as a blogger, and he also had a course that I think was called Blog Mastermind or Blogging Blueprints.
You got them. No, Blog Mastermind was the course. Is the course? Yeah, you got it.
Oh, okay, good, good. And anyway, Yaro and I we connected recently, and I'm very big on time management. I turned 60 in March, and I said to myself, "It's time for me to retire." You know, and I outsource a lot of things, but I still find myself doing too much. And, so I want to outsource even more. And when you mentioned that how well you were managing your time and that you weren't doing one of the things that bog most of us down so much, I just had to present you to my tribe, and let you share with us what you're doing. Now, Yaro's the co-founder of Inbox Done. That's inboxdone.com. You want to tell us, the genesis of that, or.
Yeah. I think the simple phrase that catches people's attention is I haven't done my email in 12 years, wow. Over 12 years now. And which, before I tell my story, I just got to ask you, Willie, who does your email? Are you in charge of email or?
I have an email assistant who handles most of my email. I have two boxes, and one box is just things I want to see, and then the email assistant processes probably 90% of the other email. If there's something that she can't handle, then she flags it and tells me I need to take care of it.
Like, perfect example. And how long ago did you do that? Did you make that change?
My friend Ray Perry, she told me that was what she was doing. In fact, she doesn't take phone calls either. And so when she told me she was doing that, she says, my assistant just sends me an email once a day and says, so you need to respond to these few things. She says, the rest of my time is free. I'm like, really? And so that was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
But I still answer a lot of email because I just get so much. I've been in business online for 23 years, and I've had the same email address most of that time. And I give my email address out a lot too in articles. I post it on social media. I don't hide from people.
No.
My assistant's taking care of a lot of the emails.
No. I was impressed that when I emailed you to just see if you'd be willing to talk to me about this whole idea of breaking free from email, that, you replied pretty quickly there. So, it's always interesting when you think of people, like yourself, who have a big personality online, big personal brand, seem to be running a busy business. You always wonder, how do you have time to do the email? So I'm always kind of interested when I get a reply. Is it an assistant? Is it an email manager? Is it from Willie? Did the manager pass my message on to you? How was the flow?
And when your email came through, I happened to be online, and it just jumped out at me. At the same time, I had an incident 3 or 4 years ago where somebody wanted to make a substantial purchase from me, and we didn't get back to them in time, fast enough. And so what happened was, when I finally reached the person, they were like, I already purchased from someone else. And I'm like, man, I need to get faster responding to email. So I monitor email, but I'm on social media a lot, and I have an assistant that helps me with social media too. But I want to do less and less and less, So
Yeah, no, that's a good example. I know I'm a bit the same. I have my email obviously on my phone, as we all do, and I see the messages. So if there's something I feel like only I can reply to, and you're going to lose a sale if you don't, then I'll jump in there and do it. But most of the time it's look but don't touch. Leave the emails in there for the assistant. But just to connect the dots, so same for me. I've been online with an online business or some kind of online business for I'm hitting my 20th anniversary right now.
Wow.
So we're similar similar age in internet years, I think, Willie. So
Yes. I'm at 23 years, but my first 4 or 5 years, I was just publishing a simple cookbook. And
I remember from our
my
interview.
success with that cookbook, they got me invited to speak at an internet marketing seminar, and that's when I became an internet marketing guru.
Right.
Yeah, and so and then I've never looked back since then. I've watched a lot
Right.
of people burn out, and I think it is from all the email and now all the social media, and it's just so many things to do. Our friend Rich Sheffrin, he put out a report called the Internet Marketing Manifesto that tells all the things that we try to do. We try to manage everything, and
Yeah.
we can't,
Yeah. Yeah, I remember how groundbreaking that was, that infographic with all those jobs. It's funny though, even if you like how I came up with Inbox Done, the company I'm currently running, I was actually sitting at a dinner with a bunch of entrepreneurs in Vancouver, and one of them was talking to another one, just saying how, I have to go home tonight and do my email. Email
Right.
just takes so much of my time, and I think you probably hear a version of that conversation, not just in entrepreneurs, but really everyone, right? People who have a job, I have to go home and do my email from work, or I have to get into the office and do my email. And it really became something that stood out to me. And actually it was at this entrepreneur dinner where I said, after I heard that story, I went to them and said, you know what? I actually don't do my email. I haven't, done my email in over 20 years. And of course they turned to me and they were like, what do you mean? How do you not do your email? Everyone has email, right? Then I explained, well, 12 years ago, I was running an online business. Back then it was, I was in the editing and proofreading world, not
Right.
the cookbook world, but similar. I was running that as, in my early 20s. And before we had Tim Ferriss and the 4-Hour Work Week, even before that, I was striving for that type of freedom. And I went on a little short trip. I was living in Brisbane, Australia, and I traveled down to Sydney for a conference while I was running my proofreading company. And, I found myself checking my email all day because same story. I had to, if a job came in, I had to send it through to the editor. If a job came through and there was no payment, I had to chase up the payment. And
Right.
those were important things to do for my business, so it made money. But I found myself spending more time doing that, and really certainly wasn't a holiday. And I was in and out of the conference a lot as well. So when I came back from that, I was like, okay, this is not a freedom business as
Right.
we all talk about, we all strive for. And that's when I actually thought, wow, the only thing that's stopping me from making this final step and really gaining more time is email. If I can get email off my plate, and it doesn't have to be 100% of my email, but there's a lot of email here. Everything I just mentioned, chasing up payments, forwarding jobs to editors, dealing with newsletters, processing everyday incoming questions about the products and services that I sell. I didn't need to be doing that. In fact, someone else would probably do a better job if that was their only job.
Right.
So I hired someone. So I went and I found a stay-at-home mom. I was a bit apprehensive. I'm sure you were too. When you first think about handing over email to someone, you're like, this is a fairly important part of my life and my business. Can I trust someone else to do it well? So we had a very kind of careful training and handover period where I showed her the emails that we get. I showed how I wrote replies, and she studied that. And then I said, okay, you seem to know how I work. You start writing a few drafts, and I'll tell you whether those are good enough. She did that. I gave her a bit of feedback. And eventually, I said, those drafts are good enough to be sent out. You can take over. And, that took about 4 weeks to really hand over most of those kind of messages. And then after 4 weeks, I had a similar experience to you. I logged in on a Monday to check my email, and my inbox was completely empty.
Wow.
And initially I was like, is something broken? I better check my, my website and make sure everything's up and running. But of course, I was like, no, she's obviously logged in before I did. I tend to sleep in late. I get up at like 10 or 11.
Oh.
She was up at 9 and did the work. So that was a pretty special moment, because then I realized I don't have because email was kind of driving my day. I would decide what to do based on the emails that came in. I'd reply to them. It made me feel busy a lot of the time, even if I wasn't really doing much, right?
Yes.
But suddenly I had my entire day free after that, because that business was completely outsourced. I answered maybe one or two queries throughout the week that only I could deal with, but everything else was in her hands. The business was making money. And it's actually funny, if it wasn't for that kind of breakthrough, I would have never focused on blogging as much as I did, because it gave me the time to start a blog and grow that blog and write articles and do podcasts, and eventually led to meeting people like yourself. So it's kind of all connected, but that's how the genesis of me getting rid of email happened. And since then, every business I've had, obviously I went on to sell my proofreading company, went into blogging, went into affiliate marketing like yourself. But even today and all those years ago, every single year, there's always been one person, sometimes even two or three people in my inbox just processing the day-to-day messages coming through. I still have a folder with my name on it that certain emails go to me, but I tend to do that once a month. I'll log in every month and reply to that. Sometimes it's only stuff I need to answer that has to be done really quickly, but it's very small. It's taken away probably 95% of the emails off my plate, and obviously give me a bunch of time to do things like, podcasts or conversations like this. And
Yes.
I can't go back. I don't think I could ever do my email again. That's for sure.
Well, I say I outsource a lot of things, and one of the struggles I think a lot of people have is it's a trust issue. It's, okay, I'm trusting this person with maybe financial information. How much do I let them, authorize them to issue refunds? Things like that.
Yeah.
Or somebody say I ordered and I didn't get the product, but I'd say you can give my product out. All those things have to be worked out. And frankly, I've come across people that, like, I outsourced some web work to, and while they were working on my website, they put hidden links in my website that funneled my traffic to their website.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a trust factor. It is, and I've used a help desk for many years, but now I just let a lot of it go to email. The help desk, it's going to sit there until someone logs in and works with it. The struggle with email is all the email filters too. Not all email gets through.
Yeah. Yeah, we went through this, as you can imagine, when you decide to start a business and you go, okay, will people trust us to take over their email? That's, you're quite right. Yeah, it's the biggest question there is. And as you do with a new business, we first tested it with just two people. I went to my audience and said, hey, the people who manage my email, we're starting up a service to manage other people's email. We're looking for a test client. And we had two people sign up, and it was a test for us too. Like, what happens when we go in there, and can we do what we do for me for other people? And one of my sort of longtime contacts from blogging and has taken my course, who has a subject very different. She has a blog and a business around a form of therapy for people with multiple personalities. So I was thinking, this is even another layer. We have to go in and interact with people who might be asking her very personal questions regarding their medical condition, So, I was like, let's just see if we can do this. If she's happy, if her people who are her customers are happy interacting with our person, her email manager, then it could work. Same story. Went through like 4 weeks, 6 weeks of training and learning how she does what she does, and then took over. And, she obviously introduced our email manager as her new, basically like a part of her team. And that helped increase the trust. Obviously, getting to know what types of emails, how she replies, what types of emails maybe we should be very careful with to pass to her. All that kind of learning happened. And then let's face it, trust is also not instantaneous. You have to spend a bit of time and watch and learn and work. And that's what happened. So, and we go through that now. It doesn't matter whether we're starting now or 2 years later, as this business is 2 years old, you still have to go through that trust building process and the learning process and the training process, because like you experienced, if you're handing over email, and it's funny you mentioned refunds and payments. I had a friend message me today. He runs an online business, and he was like, hey, I've got my assistant, my virtual assistant, but do you let them see your inbox where you have all those Stripe payments coming in with, your money coming in? And like, do you want them to see how much money you make from your business? And then like, And I said, yeah, I let them handle the Stripe payments and do, refund processes or chasing up failed payments. And then I said, I also let them pay invoices for other people on my team. And he was like, but how do you do that? Because what if they see how much money someone else in my company earns and they might feel like they're not making enough? And I'm like, well, maybe you should be making sure you're paying people, well. But the long story is, like, all of that comes through email, and all of that can be handled by someone you grow to trust. So, I wouldn't say give someone your credit card number or log into your PayPal account or your Stripe account from day one, but start with the basics of, whatever your most common, easy, simple emails are.
Right.
Then start handing over more that comes through the inbox, like refunds, like payment processing, like paying invoices. All my bills essentially online are either actioned or filed away by my email person. So I never see it. So it's kind of like an accountant bookkeeping kind of role sometimes too. But, to me, that's the most boring work there is. So the sooner I can get it off my plate, the better.
Stepping back, you mentioned teaching her how to respond, and you looked at the email. So were you teaching her to write in your voice? Did you reveal up front that you had an email manager and that it wasn't you talking to the customer?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you feel like, Willie? Would you want someone to pretend to be Willie when they're writing emails?
No. And actually, you basically point out to your clientele that you can't. You don't try to run everything. You're not a one-man show. So you say, I have an assistant. And you let them know they're dealing with your assistant.
Yeah, I think it's good. It shows your company's getting bigger and more responsible and growing up. So, I mean, we had a couple of clients who did say, I want you to pretend to be me, but we find it generally works better with someone who is, proud to represent, look, we've hired a new part of our team. They're going to handle customer support and email management. So you're going to see messages coming from them. They obviously learn about your style because they're going to see how you write messages. They're going to check your sent folder and, learn how Willie writes with his certain style and try and, match the feel and the culture of your company. But they're going to be themselves as well and write and sign off with their name. But I mean, ultimately it's up to you, but I think that's a better way to do it. And most of our clients prefer that. And for me, I had 3 people at one stage in my inbox because I wanted to do 24-hour support. So we had an Australian for like the Southern Hemisphere time zone, and an American, and at one point I think a European. So they obviously were part of my customer support team. We still call it today. It's the Yaro Client Care Team or the Yaro team. And I think it's great because it makes you, as an entrepreneur, it makes you feel like you have a more serious business too, I think, when you start hiring those kind of roles, right?
Yeah, it's like, and a lot of us entrepreneurs, one of the struggles we have is saying to ourselves at first that we can't afford to have assistants or whatever. And then you eventually reach the point where you go, I can't afford not to, because if I'm working in my business, then I can't be running my business or working on my business. So I can't afford not to have assistants do a lot of things for me. And, when you reach that point, you become a CEO,
Yeah. I remember, like yourself, probably, Willie, when I was, just getting started, I built the website myself. I looked for software and tried to install things myself. And I replied to every email myself, and I created every product myself. And it's very, very much like that Rich Sheffrin graph we talked about at the beginning. I was doing marketing. I was doing everything, all payment processing. And then, I realized that this is not sustainable for financial reasons and also my own health. And, I was run down. So for me, tech was the first thing. I hired a website builder, someone to install the software and make the website tweaks, because that's like every day there's something that needs to happen there, new landing page, new product download page. And then very quickly, as I told my story, the email became the second thing to outsource. It's kind of like a good thing because it usually means you're growing if you're getting a lot of email. And I think that those two, for about 10 years, I ran a multiple 6-figure business only with myself, a tech person, and an email customer service. Grew after that, but for a good long time, it was me being like you. I was the content creator, the social media star. I created the product, but they did all the website stuff and all the customer support stuff. And that was great because it freed me up to be the creative person in the business.
Yeah, and it's like even today, I know how to program. I know C++ and PHP and
Really?
other programming, and then there's always that temptation to say, well, I can push it over to my web person and let them handle it, or I can just do it. I know how to do this really quick. And I run into that problem with clients. Actually, I have clients that go, well, I don't know how to do that. And there's that temptation to say, well, I can do that,
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, no, I don't do that. I hire someone to do that. And so, there is that temptation there. And I've been blogging myself. I think I blogged for about 15 years, and I can remember installing a blog on my site, and I updated it, and spent about 6 hours trying to get the code to work properly. Then I reached out to a friend in Canada, Steve McClellan, and I said, can you look at this? And he looked at the code, and like in 10 minutes, he came back. He said, you had a semicolon in the wrong place.
Yeah.
I spent like 6 hours trying to get this to work. He fixes it. And I learned, don't do that. I don't care what he charges. He didn't charge me anything for it in that case, but it would have been worth it. Their technical expertise is definitely worth it. And I spent hours and hours and hours trying to fix that.
Yeah. I remember that exercise. I think I've seen it in lots of people's training over the years. Rich, Eben Pagan, maybe Tony Robbins. They talk about like, what's your hourly rate? Like how much are you worth, right? And like if you spend 6 hours trying to change the code because something's broken, versus 6 hours doing coaching or creating a product or doing a marketing campaign, then that 6 hours could be worth $100 an hour, $200 an hour. But why wouldn't you outsource for, whatever it is, $20, $25, $30 to like an email person, for example? Because I'm always surprised. I think it's a bit of an addiction where entrepreneurs know very well that email is not a moving forward part of their business.
Right.
They still get up and spend 2 hours first thing in the morning and probably 2 hours in the afternoon or the evening processing messages, feeling like, I have to do this. It's just part of my business. But if you look at the individual emails, almost all of it is just busy work that doesn't take you forward. So, getting that off your plate, knowing, first of all, that it's handled by someone who has their job. That's what they do. They're designed to do email, to probably do it better than you, to do it, as a focus, to create systems, to build automatic responses, to, provide more detailed replies to messages, build some sort of knowledge base. That's the stuff we do in our company for our clients.
Right.
Too busy to do all that stuff. They should be out there, whatever it is they do. Like for you probably should be out talking at events, promoting yourself. Could be writing books. I know you don't write cookbooks anymore, but back in the day, that would have been part of what you did, and that's what you should be doing: the creative work, the product creation, the marketing, and or even as you get more senior, managing the business, delegating, telling people what to do. If you're sitting there writing emails, that's like it's almost it's like something primal where we feel like that's our job. We have to do email, yet we outsource everything else. So I'm kind of like here to spread the gospel that you need to break free from email and stop seeing it as a job that only you can do. And that's a big step.
Yeah, I'm actually preparing to let go of like 99% of the control of my company. I actually am looking at someone that I want to make like the operations officer. They run the company, and I don't touch employees, virtual employees. They do that. And
are you retiring? Like you're going to do nothing, or?
I want to travel a lot. I want to do a lot of international travel, and yet, I'll get on the computer for an hour or two some days, but put it in someone else's hand. And I have people in mind that I trust, like my son-in-law and my daughter, my youngest daughter. They're college graduates. They're brilliant. They know how to run a business. Like when I turn it over to them, pay them, a six-figure income, and say, make it performance-based maybe even, but don't manage the team of employees. I